So lesson 22, analyzing campaign data and generating reports. So in this lesson, we're going to learn about the export reports. So you've seen the campaign manager interface and you've seen the amount of reporting you can do, but there's some things you can't do and that you have to take into Excel or Google Sheets or Airtip or whatever you use to do your reporting. So I'm going to show you some of those examples and where to get them. Then also I'm going to show you how to use a naming convention. So a naming convention will be important for you to understand some of the additional things you can report on. I'm going to talk you through that. So now we're in the LinkedIn Campaign Manager account and we can see, let's use our CXL course view. So we can see things like objective, result, bid, budget, impressions, reach, things like that. However, we can't see things like share of voice, or we can't see a spend for a region or anything like that. So to get those types of things, what you need to do is export. To export a CSV, you have many different options. So you can include campaign performance, ad performance. You can see things like the audience network, demographics, conversion performance. What this just does is gives you a little bit extra data and gives it to you in a format where you can play with it a little bit. So for me, the thing I like to do is always export the campaign performance. Now, the data you get from the extract here is based on the time range you have on the native tool. So if you wanted it to be for last quarter, for example, you're going to have to choose last quarter and then export. If you wanted it to be for last week, you'd have to choose the last week, the last 7 days, and then export. So for this, we're going to choose the last 7 days and we're going to break out the campaign performance for all time. So depending on the type of reporting you want to do, you can break it out by day or you can break it out by month. Most of the time, I like to choose the range and then export the performance for all time. And then once you click export, you should have a CSV downloaded. And then you'll be able to open it up and play with it a little bit. So there's also different things you can do. The demographics tab is nice if you want to show kind of your own graphs around the people who are engaging and the top engaging. Or maybe you want to display which type of segments you should exclude, which type of segments are maybe not performing well, and you want to run them by other people, then you would choose the demographic report. So plenty of reports here. Download them all, see what's in them, play around with them, and see what you can use. Now, so you've seen that you can export extra data from LinkedIn Campaign Manager that you can play with. Some of it has limitations, and there's some things that maybe are not reportable from the export that you have to include. One of those, for example, is audience size. There's no way to see the audience size in any of the reports. So what you need to do is include that in a naming convention. So building your naming convention. Why is it important? For a couple of different reasons. Number one, so you're able to see and distinguish what campaign is what, and you're able to easily find campaigns and get really quick insights on them. But number two is for reporting and adding extra context to the campaigns. One of the extra things you can add is audience size, which then allows you to report on share of voice, because share of voice is essentially the amount of reach you've got within a certain audience size. You also aren't able to see things like spend by country or region. So if you have your campaign segmented out, you can then very, very easily see the spend by country or by region. And then you can also segment your campaigns in a way that you maybe wouldn't be able to do in Campaign Manager. So if you're including multiple factors in a campaign, but they're different in other factors, you will be able to see them. If you use a naming convention, you'll be able to collate all the data using the naming convention. So you have to do these things manually in Excel, but using a naming convention is a really, really clever way to do that. So this is how I like to build my naming convention. So the first here is your group naming convention. So it'll be TS, which stands for Tune Social, just for me to distinguish my campaigns if I'm working on behalf of a client from their campaigns. The next will be the funnel stage. So whether they are bottom of funnel, middle of funnel, top of funnel, then cold versus warm. So for me, cold essentially means anyone that hasn't given a quality engagement towards a brand, and warm essentially is anyone who has given a quality engagement. And then the objective type. This is the LinkedIn objective, whether it's lead generation, brand awareness, engagements, anything like that. Then I have my campaign naming convention on a campaign basis. So I'll include the number, I'll include C or W or C or T, whether it's cold or retargeting, the geo, the company size, the job type. So whether it's job title or function, I just include the job type, the objective, and then also often I use the audience size as the very last piece of the naming convention. So you can see an example of this filled out here. 01 US 1000 plus, job title is research product or designer, or function would be research product or designer, the industry is tech, and then the offer would be demo request. And then at the end of that, when I knew the audience size, I would have the audience size. So what I quickly want to do is give you an example of how that can be useful in Excel using one very quick function to separate out and to split out the naming convention into a reportable segment. So this is an example of the extract you get from downloading a campaign performance report. And now you can see I have my campaign name with its naming convention. So for this to become reportable, I want to be able to separate this out into segments. So how many segments do we have? We have campaign name, we have the geo, company size, the company or the job type, and the audience size. So we have 5 segments. So we create 5 columns, and this allows you to use a function called text split. So essentially what you do is you use this function to split out the naming convention into the pieces that it has. So for this, I've chosen it has 5 different elements to the naming convention. So number 1 is number, number 2 is geo, number 3 is company size, and number 4 job type, and the last is your audience size. So essentially what you'll do here is use text split. So text split is a relatively new function in Excel, and you essentially choose where you want the text to be split. So your naming convention, you choose what you want it to be split by. So I have the vertical bar here, and then there's no real reason to get into the point of it, but essentially you just have to give it space after the vertical bar, which will allow your data to show in line, basically. If you didn't include the space, it would include the space before the segments, but essentially using text split, clicking the row and column cell. So using text split, clicking the cell, clicking what you're using to split them up, and then choosing enter will then allow the name convention to be split up. And then you can quickly add that for all of your campaigns. And now you have everything split out. You can even get rid of campaign name if you need. And now you can report on geo, function. You can also give share of voice, which is audience size. So quickly show you how to use share of voice. So you have audience size by your reach, which you should find over here in the reach column. So let's say audience size by your reach, share of voice. Sorry, wrong way around. Your reach by your audience size gives you your share of voice. So this way you can see your share of voice percentages, which is something you can't see in Campaign Manager. So for this lesson, what I want you to do is take my group naming convention, which is below, and my campaign naming convention, which is also below, and create your own naming convention that works best for your campaign. So I've given you my example, but maybe something works better for you if you target by skills, or if you target by interest, or by seniority. Is it one people often segment by? Think about how you target and how you can segment things out and target differently, and then create a naming convention that can be used to report for that. So to recap on this lesson, you learned when to use the different export options and when to export and to create your own reports, and then using naming conventions to report on things outside Campaign Manager, like share of voice or spend per region or spend per segment if you wanted to.